The purpose of this video is to show how educators can use Adobe Illustrator in the classroom. Illustrator is an exciting and easily accessible design tool for students to start learning industry standard tools and practices, but also to have some fun. By teaching our students the basics, they'll be able to apply their creativity to all kinds of school projects. We'll look at what Illustrator is and how to understand vectors. We'll look at how Illustrator is used as a professional application, who uses Illustrator and what applications does it have. We'll also investigate creative applications for students. We'll then look at using Illustrator itself. We'll get familiar with the interface. We'll look at creating and saving documents. We'll also find out about the shape tool and how to change colour and create custom shapes.
So what is Illustrator and what is a vector? Illustrator is a professional design tool used by creators and designers to create precision logos, artworks and illustrations. Vectors are the files most commonly created in Illustrator. These files consist of a series of anchor points and lines. This means that the anchor points and the lines can be dragged up from a very small size to a very, very large size and used in different applications. So what are these professional applications? As well as being used to create artworks and illustrations, Illustrator can be used to create patterns, used in typography, and used to create things like signage and large format design. The most common use for Illustrator is that of the creation of logos. It's highly likely that every logo you've ever seen will have been created in Illustrator or redrawn in Illustrator at a later date using Illustrator. So now we know what Illustrator is and what it's used for, we can start to get used to using the program. A good starting point here is to look at the user interface. Much like InDesign and Photoshop, you've got a very similar setup with the menu across the top here with things like File, View, and also Edit as well, so you can copy and paste quickly. Along the left hand side you've got the toolbar, so you've got things like the Selection tool, you've got the Shapes tool here, Type tool, Zoom tool, and then your color controls, so fill and stroke there. If you hover over these items as well, it'll bring up a little description of what they are, which is always handy. And then on the items with little arrows at the bottom right hand corner, if you click and hold, it'll bring up extra options for you there. So in the Shapes tool you've got things like Ellipse tool and Star and so on. On the right hand side you've got your panels here as well, so you've got color, you've got things like stroke and transparency, Pathfinder, which is a very good tool, and also things like character and type and paragraph. So we're going to start by opening a new document. So we go up to File and click that and just select New. You'll notice on the right hand side of these little windows you'll get the shortcut as well, so it's good to get used to using those just to get quicker at using the programs. So if we select New, bring up a new document panel here. We're not going to name it for the moment, and we're just going to look at what options there are. You can use some of the presets here, or you can enter your own sizes here, so you can create your own custom artboard, which you can do in millimeters and units like pixels as well. We're just going to use an A4 for the moment, so I'll just click and OK that. So there you go, we brought up a new document here. What we're going to do is just mention saving work. Now work has a tendency to go missing sometimes in the classroom, so it's good to get used to best practice here and save early on and keep saving as you go. So with a new document we can just go up to File, you've got the usual items like Save and Save As. We're just going to go Save As and call this My Logo. and we'll just save that to the desktop. So now we've got our new document and our artboard here, we're going to look at using some of the tools that Illustrator has to offer. So we'll start off with the Shapes tool here, and if we click and hold we get some options. So I'm going to start with the Rectangle tool, nice and easy. If you come over to the artboard with your mouse and just click and drag, you can create an object there just by letting go. So squares and oblongs, very easy. You can do ellipse tools, so click and drag and create that ellipse. Now I'm just going to select those and click delete to get rid of them and show you how to create those same shapes, but if you want to create things like perfect circles or perfect squares, you're going to use a tool that comes very handy for lots of different functions, which is the Shift key. So if we hold down the mouse and hold down Shift and drag out, we create a square that is locked in proportion there, and the same goes for a circle as well. So if we pull that down, we can create a perfect circle there very easily. The next thing to look at doing is changing the colour of these objects. So if we go up to the selection tool again and click on the object, we have two little icons here. One is the fill colour and one is then the stroke colour. So if we make sure that the fill is selected and in front as opposed to the fill there, this will allow us to change our colour up here. So I'm going to make this green, and then I'm going to select the circle here. Again, that's in front, so I'm going to make this one red. And then what we can do is look at changing the stroke around the edge or the key line. So if we go over here to the color controls here, we can select stroke, bring that to the front, and we can add, we've got to select our object there, select the circle, that's in front, and then we're going to add a black key line, so black down here to the outside of the circle. Now it's not very thick. If we zoom in we can see it a bit better, but it's still not very thick. So I'm going to select that object again and then go up to stroke, and it gives me the weight here, so I can add thickness to that and take that off as well. And that is adding colour and adding shapes as well in Illustrator. So now we've got a handle of creating shapes and changing their colour, we can start to look at the different things we can do with these objects. So I'm going to rotate this rectangle, just selecting the object, and then I'm going to use the rotate tool here and click, and what that'll do is automatically put a center point in the middle there of your object, but I want to rotate this around the top corner, so I'm going to click here and drag that center point up to the top corner, and I can just move that to whatever angle I like. I'll just Command Z and undo that, and what you can use here is the Shift key again, which is a great little key. So you just make sure that's selected there and drag that, and if you hold down Shift it'll lock that 45 degrees, then 90, 135 and so on, 180 there. So you can move a shape on its side and know that's locked in the right position. So I'm just going to put that back in its position there. The other thing I can do is, once I've created an object, is scale that object very easily, so I can change the shape of it. I can also then change the size by holding down Shift as well. Now, a tool I mentioned earlier which is very helpful is the Pathfinder tool. So what if I want to create an entirely new shape? So I'm going to use the ellipse tool now and look at creating a shape out of two different shapes. So if we click here and hold down Shift and Alt, we can lock a perfect circle, and we can know that's coming from the center as well there, from where we're dragging out. So I've got the circle here. I'm just going to change the colour just by going over to the controls here and make that red. So we've got two different shapes here, and what I want to do is first off create a shape that is this green section here. So I need to punch the red circle out of the square. So I'm going to use the selection tool, and I'm going to, there's two ways of selecting two objects. You can either click anywhere off an object and drag over and select two objects, or click on one, hold down shift and click the other. And then we can go to the Pathfinder here and use a couple of these tools. So I'm going to use this one first, which is the minus front. So what that does is take the object that's at the front and takes that off the object that's behind. So you're left with this shape here. I'm just going to undo that. And now what I want to do is look at creating a solid object out of these two. So we get this arch top to the square. So I'm going to again select both the objects and then just go to the Unite tool, click that, and it will create that object there as well. So to round up, we looked at what Illustrator is and what a vector file is, which was a series of points and lines, which means you can draw an Illustrator file very small and very accurately and then drag it up to any size without losing any quality. We looked at who uses Illustrator. We looked at the applications that Illustrator files can be used for in a professional design environment. We then went on to use Illustrator. We looked at the interface and how that's very similar to that of Photoshop and InDesign. We created and saved a document. We also highlighted how important it is to save work as you go, especially in the classroom, because work can go missing quite easily. We then worked with colour and shapes, and we learned how important the shift key can be at this point in locking objects in position or locking them in proportion. We also then created custom shapes using the Pathfinder tool.
So finally, as Ben has explained, Illustrator, in his opinion, is a really easy tool for getting students engaged and excited within the classroom.